Golf Show back at it again on a Monday with the World Series going, Monday Night Football. So only like our mom is gonna see this show live. So hey, welcome on in, y'all. I mean, it is what it is. And the timing kind of just based on me attending another PAT today. I want to talk. I'll just talk about that right off the bat. Get that out the way. I have some thoughts.
What is your name?
My name is Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
I have some thoughts around the PAT, and it's maybe a little bit different than what we talked about last time. I will say
Yeah.
just right off the bat, I ended up shooting the same score as I shot 2 weeks ago, just in reverse. Not great. Always go play a course before playing in a competition there. Don't think that GPS is the same. It was just completely different. But had a good time. And that's the first point. Who you play with in golf makes all the difference in the world.
Big difference.
So last time I played with the psycho who kept going bipolar, throwing balls and clubs, really upset with his game, quit pretty much on every other hole, and did end up not playing the afternoon. So that was my experience 2 weeks ago at the PAT, which is the playing ability test for the PGA certification. So, one of the reasons that I did it was to support this man on screen with me. Just felt like being in his corner. So it's cool. And it also kind of gives me a taste of competition golf, which leads into my kind of second point, which is no matter how good you are out there playing with your bros, you may be the stick in the group, kicking everybody's butt, taking money. Competition golf is something completely different.
Right.
Both on
It'll
your
humble
nerves,
anybody.
it will. And the game that you think you have may not show up on the big stage when you need it to. So that's just something that I think, and also just from a handicap standpoint, I think there's a lot of inflated handicaps out there. Just again, competition golf is completely different. And I mean, it's one of the things that happens with golfers. We're semi delusional, right? Unless you have some tools to kind of combat um the delusion, like knowing your yardages. That's a funny thing, right? When people just assume that they hit driver 270 yards when a lot of people just hit that thing like 220, 2230.
Right.
Things like that. It's so yeah, I think that's what has illuminated you know for me in the competition is the weak points in your game really come out. So it's finding consistency in every part of your game. You really cannot have a weak spot to be able to compete on that level. So I look forward to more just different formats of competition golf. I'm probably gonna think about seeing what those USGA local, type of events look like, and they're based on handicaps and flights and different things. But putting yourself in that environment with like true pressure, I think is super useful if you're serious about golf. If you don't give a shit and you're just out there kind of out there drinking and having fun, that's cool. Totally understand. Golf is also a very social game. As I mentioned, who you play with matters. But if you're serious about getting good at golf, I do recommend that for anybody who is like wanting to get better is to go engage in competition. What do you think about that?
I agree. Put yourself under the microscope. See how it really is. Because as we have seen in person, live and in front of us, your actual handicap compared to your playing handicap is completely different. Um, one thing for sure, and two things for certain. Your handicap is absolutely your best scores. Period, hands down. Nobody is going to see your 93 that you shot in between that 76 and 77 to make you a 4.8 handicap. Nobody's going to see that. Nobody's going to see the 97 that you shot where you went out of bounds four times in a row and the bro just let you homie drop right next to him. Nobody's going to see that. Everybody's going to see what you did, and they're going to see that score that you post on your player ability test. on the USGA amateur qualifying or pre-qualifier. So when it matters most, that's when you need to be having it under wraps. But again, if you've never been in that pressure before, if you've never competed before, that is a different beast that some people will never be able to grasp or dominate or even, be able to compete with. So that in itself is a battle. So yeah, I'm glad Rod, as like he described, has finally, been under and seen it for himself. Sometimes pressure really does get the best of everybody. It doesn't matter, like I've told y'all before, I'm a 3 handicap. It does not matter. None of that matters when you're playing the courses you love. Even if you're playing from the tips, you still know where to miss. You still know how to play your course. You still know how to get around where you're familiar with. Play different courses. Make sure your game travels. Things like that. Make sure you have a go-to shot. Make sure all the little things that you think will come together just off of natural ability. Make sure you sure those things up. So again, when the pressure is most important, those things aren't gonna, disintegrate in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You yourself could call yourself a short game magic king, like me, myself. I try to say that my 58 is my best friend, but when it matters the most, can you chip it within that friendly range, that 3-foot putt make, that 2-foot, I don't have to worry about it. I can just go up, put it in, hole out, because you have to hole everything out. That's another thing. These guys that call themselves good putters, are you really a good putter, or did your homie just give you a 4-footer to keep the game going, or
Oh, that's a big one.
to keep the round going?
That's a
Everything
big
must
one.
be holed. That's the thing. So, yeah, are you reading into these greens? Can you read greens? Can you read pace? Can you put different greens, new greens, old greens, slow greens, fast greens? All that stuff matters. So, just piggybacking off of what Rod said, competition golf is going to bring the best or the worst out of you. And sometimes people don't know how to handle that pressure. And unfortunately, Rod got a bad apple. So we move on, we keep going, because more times than not, you get some good apples. You're playing with somebody that at least makes the round pleasant and talks you off sometimes Rod will be in the same car with me and I'll be talking myself off the cliff and he reels me back in. It all depending upon who you're playing with. So
Yeah.
just piggybacking off of what Rod said, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, the guy I was playing with today, I wouldn't say he's like some crazy stick. He wasn't incredibly long. Like I told Marcus earlier, I shared my experiences that he was 6 months past 50. Shout out to Daniel, who owns the restaurant / grill at Riverside in Austin, Texas. Really good dude. You never know who runs across your stuff online. So shout out to him. He's a really good dude. So I wouldn't say he's super long. Efficient, right? So lengthwise, I was playing from a tee back from him. He was playing from the over 50 tees, even though he was only 6 months past 50. So on a hole where it was required for you to hit iron off of the tee box. So my 6 iron, maybe 5 iron, was the equivalent of his 4 iron from 20 yards further up. So if that gives you any idea of the kind of player he was, again, I'm longer than average, but not some like world beater. But he was getting up and down quite a bit. But when Marcus was sharing kind of the parts of your game that get exposed, there was this really tough par 5 on the back 9. It was the last par 5 on the course. The first front 9 of this particular course, which is Pinnacle Golf Club in Maybank, Texas. Front 9 par 5s were very gettable, very in front of you. If you just, had a decent drive, you'd have opportunity to get there in 2. The back 9 were both placement par 5s where you're not able to go at it, where you're playing from section to section, position golf. Again, he played the other 3 par 5s very respectably. This particular hole, he had a 10 in our first round and an 8. Both of these were anomalies compared to the rest of his round, but they were very tough holes. And so in a essentially what should have been a par 10, my man pulled a 18. So 8 over on one particular hole. That's painful. But there were certain parts of his game where it was exposed, again, where you had to be really specific about where you put the ball on this hole or you were going to lose it. So 4 balls lost and 8 over later. Again, that's just an example, extreme example from what I saw today. And then, even for myself, just not able to get up and down on quite a few holes. So again, competition golf is its own beast. And again, we're not talking about with the boys competition golf, that 20, that 50, even if it's $100, it doesn't matter. But when it's like sanctioned golf, ball down, PGA rules, none of that OB drop and take distance. No, you're going back to the tee, bro.
Yeah.
Or you are taking 2 strokes and your distance. You're playing 4 on your drop if it's an OB situation. So yeah, I encourage anybody who wants to get better at golf, enroll yourself in some type of competition. You should have a USGA handicap that you're working with, which will make you eligible for competition. So go do it. I encourage anyone who wants to see what their game really is and if it travels to go do it. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And those are just my observations of 2 weeks apart doing that. Definitely going to change my practice habits. As I told you, the range is not where my best golf is cultivated. So I'm going to change that strategy up a little bit here. So anyway, wanted to get that out of the way and talk about that. Let's get on with the kind of news of the week. I'm talking about a little bit of golf. Let's hit the DP World Tour since that's our cover story for today. They were playing in South Korea, the Genesis Open. It was a Jack Nicklaus course. Comes down to the 2 Koreans that did not go over to play the Zozo Championship with the PGA Tour. We had Ben On and Tom Kim going into a 1-hole playoff after it was all said and done. And it was really tight. There were quite a few competitors kind of fighting for the lead there. I think the guy's name is Rosner, Frenchman, who, was competing up there at the top. But they ended up going to a playoff. On gets the birdie on the first playoff hole, and Tom Kim, bogeys the hole and loses the playoffs. But the news of the day was that, good on Ben On for winning in his home country, was that Tom Kim damages like this glass locker in the locker room, upset, angry. And this is kind of completing a bad stretch for Tom Kim. We talked about him a few weeks ago with the President's Cup and, kind of his behavior that wasn't able to back up the trash that he was talking. And then even going back to the end of the regular season as he was exited from the playoff, the FedEx Cup playoffs, there was a hole near the end of I think he was on the cut line and he ended up scarring up a green or something right near the end of the year. And again, just these incidents keep piling up and showing a complete lack of maturity from Tom Kim, who is a really talented golfer, but is becoming, I don't know, just persona non grata, just not in a good spot from a, marketability standpoint and just, having people like him. What do you think about Tom Kim and kind of where he's at with himself right now?
I think, unfortunately, I don't know. Look, first, let me start with Ben On. Okay. Ben On did what he was supposed to do on 18, ended up parring it or whatever. Then on the playoff hole, made birdie.
Oh, you're talking about 18. Oh, you're talking about 18 in regulation. Yeah.
Yeah, in regulation.
My bad.
In the no, you're good. And then in the playoff hole, gets away with his tee ball, which was, bordering right in the hazard, but new rules. You can ground your club in the hazard. Had a perfect lie. He's hole high, does what he's supposed to do, chip in a putt, gets up and down for birdie. So I think in that aspect, Ben On did what he was supposed to do to win the tournament. On Tom Kim's part, Tom Kim in regulation had a putt to win it outright and not even go into the playoffs. So let's start there. Let's start with the missed putt on 18 to win it in regulation. Unfortunate news. Okay, that's fine. You got to bounce back. You bounce back, you stripe it, you hit the middle of the fairway. Cool. Now, all of a sudden, your partner that you're playing against, who you know is not necessarily in a good spot. So, not saying you got to go for the hero shot, but also not saying that you need to be conservative. But when you go hybrid, don't catch it clean and you end up in that ugly spot, green side, outside the bunker. You shank it, then you're past the green, then you chip up and down from the drop. You don't necessarily give yourself the best look. Downhill, left or righter, you don't even touch the hole. Yes, you bogey it. Don't even give yourself an opportunity. Okay, I get it. Buddy, it's a long season, man. There's no reason for you to react like this. Period. All the commentators have talked about this throughout the season on the PGA Tour and whenever Tom Kim has played. Tom Kim, prodigious player, been doing this thing professionally since 15. 15. My man is 22 now. That's 7 years of professional golf under your belt. And for you to still be acting in this manner after 7 years just says a lot about your character and the people that are around you. Somebody needs to be in your corner that is going to tell you the truth. And that is that you need to grow up and that somebody needs to tell that man no. Period. I don't care.
Right.
And that's the thing, bro. Like, people with money need to be still humbled. Me personally, I've had spurts where I felt like I was ahead of the game. I've had spots where I felt like I was a brokey. But regardless of that, I have always been humble enough to know that somebody can tell me no, and I just need to take that like a man. Somebody is not telling Tom Kim, a millionaire going on to be, 20, 30, 40, whatever his net worth is, millionaire. Somebody needs to be in his party and somebody needs to tell him no. The way he's acting
Right.
in the playoffs, scoring up the greens, you're not even in the last group. Many people have to play beyond that. Your caddy has to deal with this. Your inner team has to deal with you. Like, when does it get to a point where somebody's gonna have to, man up and tell my bro that he needs to chill out and actually gain some maturity?
Yeah,
You're
man, you gotta have
22,
people,
bro. You're drinking.
You gotta have people on your team that are willing to tell you the truth. There's gotta be one
real.
at least.
Somebody, your best friend, your girl, your parents, somebody. I know mom will instantly humble us. It's not even a question. But in itself, I feel like you've always been right there over my shoulder to tell me the same thing. So I don't understand why he thinks he has the right to damage you things and think that money is just going to be the issue. What if he doesn't get an invite back? This is his home open. This is an
Right.
event that he prided himself in being and made sure he prioritized it over the Zozo, which is a PGA sanctioned event. So you go and you play for the DP World Tour and the KP and the KPGA sanctioned event instead to play at the crib just for you to do this anyways. Speaks volumes on my man's maturity level. So work needs to be done. He's got a few months before, things really kick off and he goes into 2025 into that next season. But not a good look for him, not a good look for his team. And really just I don't even know if you can call this a carryover from the President's Cup, because he choked that and he got over that real quick. This is something completely different. This is a different incident, and this is something else that he needs to own up to. So, yeah, I don't know what needs to be said to him in private or in public, But maybe Brandel Chambly and his dickhead self needs to come out on and
Oh,
interview him
Marcus.
or say something on Golf Channel. I don't even know if he's still on Golf Channel. He might have, you know,
He is on.
been out
Stop
on
hating on
the.
Brandon
Okay,
Chambly.
my
Brandon
fault.
Brandon
My fault.
Chambly is a. We're gonna one day we're gonna have to have a discussion on air about Brandon Chambly. I appreciate the man because I know he works hard at his craft, and I know people like don't like his moral stances, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But I think the man has convictions. I respect that, and he's not.
No, he
He's not.
decent, but
Yeah.
he just he's way too critical on players to be a one time winner that will happen off some bullshit in '97. That's all I'm saying.
I get it. Am I frozen on your end?
Yes.
Okay, there I go. Unfroze. Um, but yeah, let's keep him. My thing that I
Brandon
don't
Chambly is a
like,
great journalist. I agree. I 100% agree.
the thing that I dislike about the Tom Kim situation is that it's a potential loss of sponsorships down the road, right? So let's say he
Right.
continues down this path, has a couple of incidents. I'm sure there's tons of sponsorships, or really with it, when you're a Nike athlete, they pay you quite a bit up front so that you don't have other sponsors on your clothing, right? So we don't
Right.
know if Tom Kim does other commercials, especially if they're like Korean based products and things that are not going to be on his actual apparel, but is the face of something, like BB Go or something, right? Which is like a
Yeah.
Korean company, something to that effect. But Nike's doing him pretty well, right? For him to have
Right.
that exclusivity. And if he continues to be a problem, do they reevaluate that a relationship down the road? And here you are losing out on millions of dollars because you cannot control your emotions. And, as a professional athlete, you have a lot of resources at your disposal. Go to a sports psychologist, figure that crap out. Don't be above getting some outside help.
Yep.
Continuing to apologize for different incidences. Yeah, all right, cool. Once, twice. We're at 3 times within a half a year span of incidents that involve Tom Kim and his lack of self control. So I hope the man gets his stuff together before he really damages his reputation beyond repair, and he becomes, one of these people, like let's say a Bryson DeChambeau before he rehabbed his image. It's a lot of work
Right.
to get back in the public graces. Patrick Reed has never recovered. Yes, his was about cheating, but this kind of still goes in the same vein of that when you're damaging property, which we have two
Right.
incidences of, and being just a douchebag on, you know, in the international competition with fans and other players alike. So come
I
on,
mean,
Tom Kim.
just think about the work JT had to do just to get it back from what he
For
said
sure.
on the
Oh,
hot
that
mic
that the F word, yeah. The derogatory term.
with a very with a very noticeable fashion brand that we all still know and love. So it took years, but and a couple of different random sponsors, and then finally, he's back and he's with a pretty nice company in Grayson Clothiers. But
Yeah.
who is the type? Who do they put? Whose face is on there? The guy that can't keep his hands to himself is over him instead of JT. Torbjorn Olesen is their title sponsor kid on in the face of their company in golf and in
Mm.
athletic wear, and he's had some courtroom appearances. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. I'm gonna leave his business to him, but
Yeah, because
just look
we got
that up.
somebody else's legal troubles to talk about later in the show as well.
Yeah,
So cool. Quick little mention of the LPGA since we're overseas right now, and all of the golf last week outside of the Old Man Tour
oh
was
yeah,
overseas. Um, in the Maybank Championship in Malaysia, Ronnie Yin wins for the second time in 3 weeks.
mm,
Her technically third win on tour this year, and because she had a team win with who
The
she
team went with
defeated
Gino.
with Gino Thitokul, who's one shot trailing her, but she was able to pull it out. Again, they're over there raking it and just still playing good golf here at the end of the year, and they have one more week on the Asian swing, so they'll be playing the final leg of that this weekend. And again, it's been fun to get a lot of golf in here at the end of the year. And warm weather temperatures and just
Yeah.
again high quality golf. The ladies do not let up, so they have really taken advantage of the momentum from the season, and they're just keeping it going. So not much else to mention there. I didn't get to watch a ton of that. It kept coming on at weird times where I was watching other sports or just other things.
Terrible. Just
well,
when you have PGA.
When you have 3 tournaments going on in that part of the world, it's hard to, not have that crossover. It's like they kept replaying it.
I agree.
Early afternoon the following day.
5:30 to PM, 5:30 to 8:30 slot. But so we're gonna play the Zozo 2 times in a row from 10 to 2, and then 10 to 2, then 2 to 6, go to Golf Central, then have 5.5 hours of DP World Tour golf, then replay the Zozo again, then get Golf Central 30-minute version, then play the LPGA. Real goofy in the light. That's all I'm saying, bro. We've made so many good steps for the LPGA and put them on the forefront. And now it's dinner time and ain't nobody watching TV, because from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., I am not in front of a TV. I'm either finishing up work, I am at dinner, or I'm making my way home. That is a dead slot in a golfer's world, and I don't care what anybody has to say. Right. Period.
And then they got them competing with like primetime college football.
Right.
Rolling into the NFL primetime
shows, all these sitcoms that people are going to watch, kid shows, kids not watching that. Then I got to put my kid to bed. You got to put your kid to bed, but you know what I'm saying. So come on, please do the work. So now finally we get them back on live golf from 10 to 2 or 10 to 3 or whatever. And, we just got to take advantage of 3 out of 4 weeks of live golf. And hopefully they don't screw them over again.
Yeah. So the guys, PGA is off this week, right?
Or they're back on the stateside, so we don't have to worry about that time. Let's see. Schedule. Let's see. They have the Worldwide Technology in Mexico.
That's right. That's right.
That's not even this week. You're right.
Which I thought they had nixed that particular tournament for some other ones, but yeah, we're getting into that weird part of the season. Mexico event, Butterfield Bermuda Championship, which is always an interesting one because you have a lot of new guys, out there trying to get some run. And then the RSM, which is hit or miss, even though it's in Georgia this time of year. Sometimes that thing is like freezing cold and raining. It's either it's one extreme or the other during that tournament. So we'll see what.
Well, you know how we've been in Myrtle Beach enough. You know how the Atlantic is. It don't know what it wants to do.
Yep. So let's get into the Zozo. A lot of stars over there at the Zozo. I think for whatever reason that tournament has really, attracted a lot of names. We saw JT, who you mentioned earlier, of course. Hometown Hideki Matsuyama in the event every single year. Xander Schauffele was over there, so we weren't missing the star power.
Yeah.
Ricky. I will be on. Yeah, Ricky Fowler had a showing, really a top four finish for him. I was Max Gracerman, who had a close call earlier in the year.
Mhm.
at the Wyndham. So good to see him bouncing back because he really threw that one away. But first day, this is kind of I don't know. Somebody out there is gonna like in the back of their head say like social justice warrior or something to that effect. But I have a mom that I love and I have a daughter. I'm married. So, protecting women is a big thing for me. So back when Nicholas Echeverria, who ultimately won the tournament, and his teammate, um, name is slipping my damn brain. Shoot, Taylor Moore, who was the first round leader, when they were teammates at University of Arkansas, both were arrested for a kind of voyeurism charge for taking photos of a young lady while she was intoxicated. Um, clearly unclothed of her lady parts. Ultimately, the charges against Echeverria were dropped, but Taylor Moore ended up pleading guilty and being on probation for a year. He pled to a misdemeanor, downgraded from a felony. So anytime I see those two names, because I kind of did some research for a video that I at some point will put out, and it was just kind of around golfers who had been arrested. It just puts a really sour taste in my mouth,
Yeah.
particularly going through the police files and just seeing kind of how disrespectful that behavior was, and the fact that they were able to kind of get the athletes pass and take a little slap on the wrist, probation, charges dropped for Echeverria, as I mentioned. But again, the behavior was abhorrent. So I just can't ever get behind them. And while they're both good golfers, um I just don't, I can't root for that. I can't celebrate it. And I think going forward, anytime either one of them does that, I will bring this story up because I don't think that's something that is a major character flaw. It's not something that just happens on accident. It's not a
Right.
young man's mistake. It's disrespectful, abhorrent behavior, and I can't I can't get with it. So anyway, like I said, every time I see those two names and the fact that they both were in the same group, a couple days this week at the Zozo, both were at the top of the leaderboard for the majority of the week, and of course, Echeverria ended up winning. So that's my piece on that, on both of them. So I don't have much else to say about that.
Let me just say in addition to that, um, I mean, we've seen it for centuries, however long that, we've had humans and men and everything like that. We've always been the stronger kind. We've always been the leaders. So for that to be how you display your masculinity and anything of that nature, it really says a lot about you and what you think about women and how you perceive yourself to be in this world. So definitely not a good look any way around it, and there's no excuse for that. Whether she be not in of her sober self or not. So I think that puts them more of an onus for you to do the right thing and make sure
Mhm.
she's okay more so. But that's just me, and that's just how
Yeah,
I have.
it's, to,
I,
to to double down on that, they both knew the young lady, and she was too intoxicated to get to her own dwelling, so she trusted them to kind of take care of her for the evening,
right,
and ultimately was
and
violated. And
and this
yeah,
wasn't under. This wasn't, and this isn't something that just happened and nobody knew about it. This was on ESPN. This was on the Golf
mhm.
Channel. Like folks knew, so it ain't no looking around this.
No.
It's no skirting this. You got to step up. And then when they tried to bring up his girlfriend, and I'm happy for him. And this is, I hope you know what you're getting into. I
Yeah.
hope you know what you're getting into. That's all I have to say
I
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We clearly do not know these folks personally. I will say this. I will say we do not know Echeverria personally. Um,
Right.
hopefully he has rehabbed his, self and done the work. Hopefully that is the case because his gal was over there. On the other end of the equation, Taylor Moore on now the X, formerly Twitter, is a horrible human being. Horrible. Caught a couple of his Twitter kind of spats and issues. Horrible human being. You go check it out, make your own judgment. But I don't feel like he's done anything to change my perception of him as a human being. And no, I'm not any judge or jury on who he is, but a pattern of behavior is a pattern of behavior. You do the same thing continuously. You talk down to people, you say disrespectful things, you do disrespectful things. I'm apt to believe that you're disrespectful and a bad human being. It is what it is. You play golf, you're good at golf, you have a natural talent for it, but that doesn't absolve you from being a decent person. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Let's talk about the positives of Zozo. We saw a resurgence of two of our favorite golfers in JT and Ricky. Ricky with some, he has had some Asian lineage, so he always tries to pay homage as it is. So for him to come over, play some really good golf, and give himself a few chances and went pretty low on that final day. It was good to see. JT, it seemed like he was in really good form pretty much all week. So, he never really had a bad round, never really had an amazing round, but, still did the work. And I think finally it's paying off. And I think maybe it's finally at the point where he's kind of just over the I'm grinding and I'm doing the work. Maybe he's finally going to show us instead
Yeah.
of talking about it. So I think that's a good look on him. You know, really, that's really all I have to say about that. I mean, I was excited about them. Um, I was kind of really hoping more from Hideki Matsuyama, but you know how much he's played lately. So I'm just going to
Yeah.
blame it on him being a little bit tired, a little bit worn down, and he's going to ride this and probably stay at the crib and have him a little break and stuff like that. But yeah, good on them. Max Homa came over, Min Lee came over. Yeah, Gary Woodland even made the trip. So yeah, a bunch of players that
Yeah.
we normally see on our side.
I'm looking at the list of
Um,
folks. Eric Cole feels like he plays quite a bit. He's out there every damn week
another
somewhere.
35 plus week, another 35 plus event season for him somehow again at
Yeah.
36 or whatever he is.
He's a late
Unreal.
bloomer. Kurt Kitayama, JJ
Yeah.
Spawn, who pops up every 15 events and does something. You know who's
Will
had an incredibly
Zalatoris, Mark
un,
Hubbard, Ben
uh,
Silverman. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
underrated season? Jonathan Vegas.
Yeah, he
Really
won,
had,
didn't he?
yeah, he won. I think it was the 3M Open in Minneapolis. Latter part of the season.
Yeah.
Had been away from, not away from the game, but not even been informed just because of
Hurt.
injuries. Yeah, and finally was able to overcome it and has played a lot of golf this year. So clearly past the physical ailments that were keeping him down. So good to see him kind of back at it, playing well. Big representative of his home country of Venezuela. And so shout out to him again. Consistent year, not just playing a lot, but a lot
Yeah.
of top 10s, a lot of top 15s. Really consistent golf, and as you mentioned, the win as well. So yeah, lot
Yeah.
of good names over there in Japan. I don't, I get it's just one of those top tier events that now has a consistent draw. So good for them.
Yeah. I know he resides in Texas, but Jonathan Vegas is a really nice guy because he came to our course and played at a Venezuelan Confederation event, charity event, and it just was the wildest thing ever. He showed up like right before the tee time, didn't really warm up, and their team still shot like a 16 or 17 under and stuff like that. You know, his team was really nice. Of course, he had his people, his coach, his his family with him. He didn't have the wifey with him, but he had like his dad or something. And then he had a little posse of about 4 or 5 people with him. So yeah, it was good to see him, and he didn't have to do that at all. I think
Yeah.
his mainstay is in Houston now, probably like the Woodlands, or playing out of one of those North Houston courses, kind of like a
Mm.
P Reed and stuff like that, or Cameron Champ, who plays out of Blue Jack and stuff like that. But again, he didn't have to do that at all. Did it, and this was post COVID, so still a bunch of things floating around. He still made an appearance, made a speech, and things like that. So yeah, good on him. And as of now, I have no bad things to say about Johnny Vegas. And yeah, again, just a really
As you
consistent season.
as you should not. He seems like a solid human being. So
Exactly.
um yeah, so that's anything else golf related you want to talk about before we segue into some of our other topics?
We talked about it last week, my man, and on the old man tour, Patty Harrington should have had a spectacular season, and finally ended up getting him a win. So he set himself up for their little tour championship that they got coming up, or their next playoff event that they got coming up. So
Yeah.
good on him. Tim probably had the little hangover from winning, probably
Yeah,
celebrated a little bit too hard.
I think he
They
was
did that little three-man.
T26.
Yeah, they did that. They do the 3-round sprint. So if you don't start crazy good, then you're pretty much out of the race.
Yeah,
No, golf wise,
that's it.
just excited for more, Asian golf, more late night stuff for us.
You know what else I've been digging though throughout the week, mixed in there over the last handful of weeks is that, and I saw it today. All this college golf that we've been seeing, these kind of late season
Right.
tournaments have been on. So they're at East Lake this week playing. I caught a little bit of it this afternoon, heading back home. So yeah, I've been digging seeing the college golf this part of the season, just to kind of help
Absolutely.
fill the voids. I don't think we haven't gotten. I cannot remember a time that we've gotten this much golf after October. Really after September it starts dying down. But there's
Yeah.
been a lot of televised golf this year, and I think there was some worry that when the PGA Tour stopped the true wraparound season, that we were going to
Hmm.
see that fall off. But nah, we've been seeing LPGA be super consistent. Yeah, PGA is hit or miss, but hell, the old men have been playing pretty. They're on a kind of a fury at the end of their season, and then of course, like I said, this college golf filling in the void. So good stuff out there, and we still have
Yeah.
2 more solid months. They're going to go all the way through the end of December, giving us something to look at. Whether
Wow.
it's the Grant Thornton,
Yeah.
after into December, with the match is coming up at some point. So yeah,
Early December. Yeah, I just looked over. DP World Tour is off this week as well. Then they have they're back in Dubai. They're on their Abu Dhabi swing, and then they have their
mm,
DP World Tour Championship. So at least we get to see Rory probably in back-to-back weeks coming up. But yeah, they're off this week too. So we really only get the LPGA. I'm trying to see. Let's see. Old Man Tour.
they have to be going because they're getting near the
No,
end of with they're off too.
no. Yes, Old Man Tour is Charles Schwab Cup is November 7th. And then
Dang.
and that's their championship. Just like I said, yeah. So they did that to get into the championship. And then November 12th through 15th were DP World Tour Championship, and then PGA is back. That's gonna be their qualifying for next year going on. So yeah,
Hmm.
man. Let me see what LPGA is doing.
I'm looking at it right now.
LPGA, geez, because I think after the Asian swing, they're coming back, and then they have
So they have the Lotte Championship on November the 6th, the Annika November the 14th, and then the CME
championship.
Championship on November the 21st. So yeah, they're going
Thankfully, they
for
get their
they're
own
going
thing.
They've played for 2 straight months at this point without a break, and then the
Wow.
Grant
And then,
Thornton is in the middle of
wow.
December.
So, okay, 9 p.m. to 1 is going to be their block from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that'll be a good look.
Yeah, is that
Um,
Eastern or that's our Central
that's
time?
our time. That's our time.
Cool.
That is our time. And they're in Japan. Otsushi Shiga, Japan.
Which we
Um,
love. We love those Asian design courses. A lot of rolling hills.
love
All
it.
the Japanese courses look really good on TV. So looking forward to that one.
Absolutely.
Cool beans. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I got anything else.
The golf don't stop.
Golfing.
But last week, NBA is back. And to be honest, like there was about, I don't know when it stopped for me. Probably when I really got into golf, and NBA wasn't great. I would probably say around COVID. So let's just say
Yeah.
5 years ago that I really lost touch with the game of basketball. If you're new to the show, me and Marcus grew up hooping. That was our love. Um, I was probably better at football than I was at basketball, even though I was decent. I was pretty good, decent at basketball. I could never put basketball down, but there was, like I said, a stretch where just couldn't do it and didn't really care about the NBA. But I'd say I started getting more back into it last year. And
Yeah.
then this year, I am really into it. And I don't know if it's just the players, the talent has upgraded. To me, it's like a new generation. So we're seeing
Yeah.
fresh faces. We've shared a couple of videos. I'm seeing a lot more strategy breakdowns about the game of, basketball and running offense and what the Lakers are doing, the talent, seeing what Oklahoma City does. Our Mavs have been really good. I'm
Yeah.
excited about the NBA. It's
Really
crazy, and
refreshing.
both conferences are good. It's not just
Yes.
lopsided where West Coast is just dominating it all. So, what do you think about the start of the NBA season?
I'm very excited as well. As, as you know, we are real big Mavs fans here. So for us to bring in Clay, I'm excited. I was always going to be positive about the move. Um, but yeah,
Until he
seeing
started
what
missing threes. Unless he came out missing, but the stroke is back. Clay is
right,
back.
I believe he is reinvigorated, and he is hungry to prove that he can. I think he's probably on that tip where he's trying to win without Steph type vibes. So him getting in line, him having another big three to play for. It's another version of the Splash Bros because Kyrie don't stop. Luca, finally has a team around him, has a supporting cast. I think he kind of was developing that last season, but
Hmm.
his usage rate is going to go way down. Uh, Jason Kidd has got to develop an offense so that motions are going to have to be made. You're going to have to get your role players more involved. So, guys like Quinn Grimes, Jaden Hardy, people like that,
Yeah.
they're going to have their chance to shine. And we've already seen Jaden Hardy kind of show that lightning in a bottle that he's got. Clay has shown that his basketball shot is back. But yeah, just like what we were doing on the Tiki Talk, the Lakers. Rod is a Jordan guy. I'm a Brian guy. So looking at what the Lakers are doing and having an actual basketball brain running their team has been really refreshing to see. Um, I'm not saying Darvin Ham wasted away 2 years of,
Oh, he absolutely
but
threw
he
away.
absolutely 2 good
Man,
years of Brian doing some crazy and still had some crazy numbers put up. But yeah, wholeheartedly, JJ Redick was the man, and I don't know why people doubted him. If you know basketball, you know how these things go. I told Rod this in private in our our personal conversations, but again, A guy like JJ Redick is probably the best person to be a coach and to run a show because he is
Yeah.
a perfect example of what it's like to be a role player, be important as a role player, but also play with superstar players. He was on the Clippers with God point guard CP God,
Right.
Blake Griffin, the aerial show that was DJ and Blake Griffin. So you know he knows how to run, and you know he knows how to get people involved.
And
With Jamal Crawford on the team too.
yeah, and I think the fact that he was not necessarily somebody that could always get his own shot, but
Right.
would be run off of screens and kind of, other,
Rush screens,
options on
bubble
the
screens.
backside. Yeah, exactly. He would be on
Absolutely.
the backside of the action and get some looks. So I think him working as a role player enabled him to kind of think about it in that way. So the way
Right.
that, they're running all these, the same action and getting different options, to get
Right.
easy
Multiple
buckets.
looks. You
100%.
play this, you play this, we're gonna go to this option. I mean, you saw it in the last one I sent you. They ran the same set twice in a row.
Right.
They everybody dived down to AD. They had a wide open three ball for Max Christie of all people, who cashed it. Okay. Now you're gonna run out to the three ball. You just gonna leave AD rim running. So I'm gonna drop it
Right.
off to him wide open for a dunk. It's too easy. It really is.
Uh,
So
That's
yes,
that's the only thing that I think can derail their season. Um,
is
is
if AD gets
AD.
hurt.
Correct. I mean, which
Because it's
is,
his team and it needs to be.
yeah, but he's fragile. Um, what's that movie with Samuel L. Jackson? Um,
Coach Carter.
no, 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 no. It's like a sci-fi. It's an M. Night
Oh,
Shyamalan, Unbreakable, where he's just
poor
like
guy.
his whole leg will just shatter. But yeah, shout out to the NBA though. I'm excited. Like I said, I've been in the early week. I've watched more games than I have quite some time. So I'm looking forward to
Easy.
the season. The Mavs. I don't know about in Houston for y'all, but here locally in Dallas, all the games are on regular TV. There's no more cable subscription, which is awesome because Bally Sports was horrible, who had their games these last handful of years.
Yeah, Valley
Um,
Sports is trash.
it was so bad. So back on regular TV, you can tune in and watch it. So that's an awesome thing for this season, and that's for the foreseeable future. So I'm super excited, and it looks like the TNT ESPN rotation is heavy. They're putting out a lot of basketball, so I can't wait for the real part of the season to hit when December 25th, where we get all day basketball, Martin Luther King Day, all these days where we're
Yeah.
just getting to get overloaded with hoops. So I'm looking forward to another NFL season, or excuse me, NBA season.
Do you
But
have
let's
any
let's go
early
ahead.
do you have any early predictions on NBA finals?
Not a one. Not a one. Like I said, I think honestly, if the Lakers keep healthy, that includes Braun too at 40 years old. I think they are doing something special.
I agree.
There's there's not a lot of teams that do not rely on the ISO game, like you mentioned with the Mavs, right? That's the
Yeah.
I see a lot. I see a little more ball movement that we saw last year, and it not just kind of being stuck to Luca and Kyrie. A little more ball movement, but again, you're not seeing a lot of creative offense out of J Kidd, and I think that's unfortunate. But I think it's way too early in the season to kind of see where things are gonna fall. I start checking around 30 games, and you can get an idea. Teams have had a chance to play some tough teams, play
Yeah.
against some, competitive, squads, and see what they're
Get a
actually
regular
able to
starting
achieve.
lineup.
Right, right. Because I think we're talking about keep bringing it back to the Mavs. They have a lot of combos that I think they can get creative with from a talent
Right.
perspective. You're higher on Jaden Hardy than I am. I think the man should ride the bench or be a trade piece because he's just offense. He's horrible on defense, and I hate that. And to me, he's not as explosive on offense to just completely disregard that he plays absolutely no defense. So I like I said, I think there's a lot of good teams out there. Timberwolves are intriguing, especially without Cat. I like them without Cat. I just think they would rely on him too often, and he wasn't able to bring the goods. So I'm interested to see how they fare. What does New York do with him? Do they fall off? So yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of good teams all throughout the league. Does Philly get their shit together this year?
No,
I don't know.
I mean they're frauds. I mean,
Is Philly the Buffalo Bills of the NBA?
yes, easily. Look, if we're talking about the East, if you're not Boston, Milwaukee, if they can get it together, but Darvin Ham is on the squad now with Doc Rivers, very much on fraud alert. Very much on fraud alert. I'm honestly looking at
neither one of them has ever called a play.
yeah.
Swear to God.
I'm looking at healthy Cleveland, Orlando. If they keep that chemistry and young core together, I'm looking at them. That's really the three out of the East I'm looking at. New York, it's going to take some time to get that chemistry together. And although I think Cat has played four Tibbs before and kind of knows what's going to happen and what's going to go on, it ain't. Look, I don't think it's as sweet as people think with that Villanova boy stuff. I don't think they're going to, mesh as well. Remember, Mikal Bridges coming from being the guy in Brooklyn for a couple of seasons. Jalen Brunson always has a ball in his hand. Josh Hart knows his role, but when you play your role that well and people start to understand how good you are and what you can do, you're going to want the ball and people are going to get in your ear. Then there's Cat. Then who's going to play five now? Mitchell Robinson stay hurt. I mean, again, how much can you rely on that when you know you're going to play 82 games and 80 out of those 82 games, you're going to play 35 to 40 minutes because you know Tibbs is going to run you into the ground. So, again, I'm not that high on New York yet. If you're not Boston on the repeat train, then Orlando's going to have to break some hearts or Cleveland's going to have to break some hearts. But, Milwaukee's on fraud alert, and I love Dame. Giannis is a freak athlete. You can't do anything but respect him. But I legitimately enjoy watching Dame Lillard play basketball, and I want to see him win. But I don't think it's going to happen there. I think his best scene was going to be for Miami, and I think they could have made 2 or 3 years of a run at a championship or at least getting it to the East Coast Finals. But out the West, you got LA, the Lakers, the Clippers are frauds. You just cannot put any team where Hart is the leader, any kind of weight on that. Phoenix, if Bill can stay healthy. Sacramento, if DeMar DeRozan can actually demand the ball and they actually give it to him. I think Mike Brown will do a good job of getting him into the offense. But De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Sabonis, they got a real good deal going with that little three-headed monster that they got going. Yeah. I don't know if unfortunately, I don't even know with the vetting and the pedigree that DeMar has if you let him in. Because he's going to get his, but it's a matter of, am I going to take away Malik Monk, best sixth man of the year? Should have got it if he didn't mess up his knee. De'Aaron Fox, fastest with the basketball on this planet. And freaking Sabonis with all his flopping and head bobbing and traveling and stuff. He be getting buckets. I ain't going to lie. So, It's a lot of parity in the NBA this year. And I said it as soon as the NFL season started, I'm excited for NBA because the Cowboys are frauds as well. So,
we'll leave the we won't even talk about the Cowboys. The season's over.
Because it's over, and you said it, and I tried not to say it, but Dak is terrible. And when you're a $60 million man and you can't determine how hard or how high to throw the football to your best target on the field, You got a lot of work to do.
Get CD Lamb the ball where he can run in space. I mean, all
Please
these dink and dunks. I mean, I
stop trying
think
to
he
make
ended
him Debo Samuel. He ain't
right.
running. He ain't a running back. He not thick like that. Pause. But he not getting it out the backfield and running downhill like that. Get him on these quick outs. Get him on like a little rollout where he's dragging behind the defenders in the middle. Get him in some space, like you said, or get him on a little a jailbreak screen, please,
And
or take him down the field.
you have Turpin on one side, who has actually been very surprising and serviceable.
Right.
Um,
2 years
where
now.
you can create some space or plays where they interact with each other. So to give Lamb some isolation and some one-on-ones, it just really isn't that hard. But the play calling is horrible.
We should have
Anyway, I
not
don't want
brought
to
back.
get
Yeah, we should have not brought back McCarthy. But
yeah.
again, Jerry he just
As long
has
as
too
Jerry's
much of an
alive,
ego.
it's going to be bad. It's going to be
It's
bad.
gonna be bad because Belichick should have been the man, and he wanted to come here. Period. But people
Let's
don't want
migrate.
that.
Before we wrap, we're going to migrate back to the NBA for one last question, even though I didn't want to do any predictions. This one we should be able to predict, or at least give an over-under. Detroit Pistons over-under 20 wins. I'm going to run down the last 5 years. Last year, 14 wins. 2022, 23, 17 wins. 21, 22, 23. Previous 2 years, 20 wins apiece. The 2018, they had 41 wins. Over under 20 wins for the Detroit Pistons this year.
Over. I'm taking the over.
Okay. All
Not
right.
necessarily faith in JB Bickerstaff, even though I know he's going to coach him up and have him somewhat decent. But I'm a fan of Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is just the real deal. 6'9" point guard, just gets it out the mud every day. So he's a
All
walking
right.
pretty much 26-9 and 5, just getting out of bed. So
Well,
I'll take the over.
they have started 0-3.
I
So we will
know. I was
see.
getting ready to say they started 0-3, so it's gonna be an uphill battle. But
Yeah. Next game
we'll
is
see.
is versus Philly 1-2. So that's coming up 2 days. So Wednesday. Yeah. I'm going for the under again. I don't think they can
I don't
do
blame
more
you.
than 20. I think
I
I'm
don't
gonna go
blame
with
you.
I'm gonna go with 18 wins for the Pistons this year.
I think if they can get any kind of, they got Duran down low. He's supposed to be really good. He'll walk in rebound machine apparently. I think they're gonna get between 26 and 29 wins.
Okay. Okay.
You heard it here first. I
All right.
said it loud and clear, chat and
All right,
viewers.
bro. All right. We'll wrap it up, and I got some stuff to do before 10 o'clock Central Time. So, all right, y'all. Beater Bros Golf Show. We will be back at it again next week, talking about whatever. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Peace, y'all.